Welcome to Jon S Sports Channel again, where it is now League One, Week 7 prediction time. And we are part of Jon S Sports Channel, where we do Championship, League One and running. So let's go back a week. I've done a quick video this time about last week's predictions and I've done a quick review of the whole weekend's football. So if you want to have a look at it, please do, and like and subscribe. So this week we look back and we see that I've suggested it was going to be 3-1 to Mansfield against Cambridge. Mansfield 3, Cambridge 1. It was actually Mansfield 2, Cambridge 1, so I don't think I did too badly there. Going down to Northampton Wycombe, I said Northampton 0, Wycombe 0, and it was Northampton 1, Wycombe 2. I didn't get that one. Then we go to Blackpool Exeter. I thought Blackpool would have to be too good for Exeter, and I went with a score of Blackpool 2, Exeter 1, and it was indeed Blackpool 2, Exeter 1, so that was my correct score. Bolton Huddersfield. I thought Huddersfield would just having too much for Bolton. A lot of you saying it was going to be a draw. I said Bolton 0, Huddersfield 2. It was actually Bolton 0, Huddersfield 4. And what's happened to Bolton? Will they keep their manager? I think personally it's a little too early in the season to be getting rid of them, but we'll see. Another 4-0 scoreline coming up. Bristol Rovers versus Wigan. I thought it was going to be Bristol Rovers 0, Wigan 1. I thought they'd just have enough to overpower Bristol Rovers. Would Taylor's side be able to fight back? No, I don't think so. And in the end, it was Bristol Rovers 0, Wigan 4. Crawley versus Stockport. I said Crawley 1, Stockport 2, and it was Crawley 1, Stockport 1. So Stockport stuttering a little of late, and I was quite surprised at that. I thought they might be able to get back on terms here and start to really drive their way forward. I think they will. Will they do it this week? Let's wait and see. Peterborough Lincoln. I thought Peterborough way too good for Lincoln, even though Lincoln were higher up in the league and actually were performing quite well, even though some of the results weren't going their way. I thought Peterborough 3, Lincoln 2. I could see this being a high scoring game. It wasn't in the end, and it was Peterborough 1, Lincoln 1. So another incorrect result. Reading Leyton Orient next, and I really did think Reading would have too much firepower for Leyton Orient in 24th. Reading 3, Leyton Orient 0. In fact, it was Reading 0, Leyton Orient 1, and Reading had all the play and they absolutely trounced Leyton Orient. But good on Leyton Orient. They played extremely well. Perhaps it's the off-field antics of Reading once again in financial trouble. Can't believe it. The fans really don't deserve this. Rotherham's been through it twice. Reading just seems to be in constant turmoil off the pitch, and the fans really don't deserve it. Good luck, fans. I hope you sort it out soon. Rotherham Burton. I went for one last time for a win, thinking that we could turn this season around early and start to play decent football, and I went for a Rotherham 3, Burton 0. It was Rotherham 2, Burton 2, and our defence is absolutely atrocious. We have loads of shots at target, but not many on target, and that was a story of last weekend for quite a few teams actually. So 2-2 instead of 3-0, another loss for me there. And Shrewsbury Charlton, I said it was going to be Shrewsbury 0, Charlton 2, but the Shrews put up a damn good show of themselves here, and they actually played really, really well. I was really impressed by their performance, and it was Shrewsbury 0, Charlton 1, so I got the correct result, not the correct score, but the correct result, only by 1 goal though. Stevenage Barnsley next, and I thought Barnsley would just about do this. I mean, they're hot and cold, aren't they? They right in the beginning or right at the end they lose it, and in this case they just capitulated from the start. They just never seem to be in it. Stevenage 1, Barnsley 2 I went for, and it was Stevenage 3, Barnsley 0, and they just never even came back. They just seemed to do a pretty poor show in the second half. Birmingham Wrexham, most people going with draws, and I thought, I think I can see this being a draw. Two very good Hollywood FC sides, and you can't see a gap between them. And it's only on goal difference now, because it was not 2-2, it was Birmingham 3, Wrexham 1. So that was my last week's results. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 results correct, including one correct score. So not too bad. I have done better, but that's actually not too bad at all, I don't think. So that was last week. Let's go on to week 7. So onward with week 7, League 1 predictions, and we are going to start with one of our two 12:30 kickoffs tomorrow, which we will hopefully be covering with a watch along. Listen along in that case. Exeter versus Stevenage, and what have we got for Exeter versus Stevenage? Exeter in 16th, Stevenage in 9th, and Stevenage have been playing quite well, but they've stuttered of late, although that win against Barnsley was quite significant, and they really didn't look like ever giving up on it. But then you have to look at the 0-0 away to Burton, and the 1-0 loss to Lincoln, and you have to think that there's a little bit. But they've played the hard teams. They played Norwich, they played Huddersfield, they played Crystal Palace. Actually won that one, and and Lincoln City is not an easy team, is it? So they have actually played some difficult teams of late, and I think that's why the results just haven't quite seemed so good for them. Whereas Exeter City have played some easier teams to win. At the minute, Bolton seem to be quite. They're not playing as well as they can do, and they played them at the right time, I think, and obviously won 2-0 away at Bolton. And you have to think that they're just getting teams at the right time. They played my team at the right time, and we're still poor even now. But yeah, they play teams at the right time. There's a lot of people out there saying 1-1, 2-2. I've seen a lot of people plump for Exeter. A, because they're at home. B, because their record recently shows a more consistent effort. I'm actually going to go. I can't actually split these two, because I can see Stevenage now getting back on track, and I can see that Barnsley win just managing to give them the impetus to start to pull that form back that they had right at the beginning. And I think they did have some good form at the beginning. I'm going to go for Exeter 2, Stevenage 2. Lincoln versus Wigan next, and I'm in danger here, because I went for a draw with this one originally, but after looking at how many teams I really can't split in this coming weekend, I was like, no, I've got to choose one. A lot of people choosing Lincoln City, because Lincoln do have an ability to just hold off and beat the really good sides, and I think that Lincoln versus Wigan will be a really tough game. There's not many people going for Wigan, and I can see why. Wigan have had it a little bit rough, but they have played teams like Birmingham and Reading, and at that point in time, Reading were actually playing well, and I don't think the thoughts of off-field were quite so in the picture there. Barnsley 1-1. I think that Stevenage, the Stevenage game for the Imps, 1-0 win. That was a good win. but I can't see. That's why I couldn't see a difference between them. I'm 1-1, and I'm thinking there's 1-0s, 1-2s, 2-1s, 1-1s. There's people going for every single score here, and I'm thinking, what do we do? I ended up plumping with a home advantage, and that's all I can do. And I hate doing it, but I'm going to go for Lincoln 2, Wigan 1. But this could be absolutely any result under the book, couldn't it? It could even be a walkover for one of them if the green just falls for them. And then the next one is Bolton versus Reading, and Bolton versus Reading. For once, people are starting to see a Bolton side that are just not firing at all. I mean, even against Barrow in the Bristol Street Motors, it was a win away from home, but it was Barrow 2, Bolton 3, and you see that things aren't going well. And a 2-0 win away at Shrewsbury, that's the only one in the last 6 games. So you have to feel for you have to feel for them. Bolton aren't firing. Will their manager manage to have a job at the end of the month? I think he will. I think he'll stay, and I think the powers that be will be thinking, well, where are they? Bolton 21st, Reading 12th. I think they won't panic yet, and they've got the players that can play. They just don't. They just seem to be losing heart a bit too quick, and I don't know why it is. I'm sure he'll find out eventually. I don't think it's going to be this week. What we're seeing from the fans: 1-3, 1-1, 1-2, 1-1, 0-1. Yeah, I'm going to plump with they're all saying Bolton are going to score. I don't think they are. I'm going to go with Bolton 0, Reading 3, because Reading played really well last season. They were really, really unlucky, and Bolton just last week didn't have any shot. There were very few shots on target, and it's like if you're not going to have shots at goal, you're not going to win the games. And so a team with few shots against a team that was just really unlucky last weekend. Yeah, 3-0 to Reading. Then we have Burton versus Barnsley, and Barnsley, of course, were just outplayed, outwitted last weekend. They were never in that game, and a Burton team that played very poorly against Rotherham, but Rotherham just played even poorer. And two very, very soft goals for Burton. Barnsley are just not playing very well, and if you look at the last 5 games, Burton have drawn 4 of them: 3-3, 0-0, 0-0, 2-2, and the only one they've won was at the Leicester City under 21s, where they won 3-1 in the Bristol Street Motors. But both teams probably put some really silly sides out for that against a side that Barnsley that lost 3-0 away to Stevenage, as we said, just never in it, and then they lost 7-0 in the Carabao Cup against Man United. Their hearts are going to be really quite low, but they have got a good team, and they keep going up and down in their effort levels. And for that reason, this is why I sort of changed the Lincoln score, because I go to this and I say, well, I'm going to go for Burton 1, Barnsley 1. I just can't seem to. They're both not. They're either not playing well or they're really disheartened in equal measures. So I'll go for a draw for that one. Charlton versus Blackpool. Steve Bruce. Well, has he got the ability to deliver a punch? 19th position at the minute against third place Charlton, and Charlton are actually playing extremely well. They played really well against Rotherham, and I think we played really well against them. They managed to equalise in the dying embers of the game, and we didn't get our first win in 2 years, did we? Darn it, away from home. Never mind. So I really thought we were going to there. So Charlton playing really well. They've, as I say, the only loss I've got in the last six is away at Reading. But Reading at that point in time were actually starting to play really really good football, and the off-field antics weren't really a matter of fact at that point. They were still possibly being taken over. So that wasn't a bad defeat at that point in time against a Blackpool side that have shown they can actually do quite well. They lost midweek 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday at home, but that's no bad thing. They're a really good side. Wins against Exeter, win 4-1 against Crewe, a win against Blackburn, 4-4 draw to Cambridge 6 games ago. That's quite good, and a 4-1 win 3 games ago against at home to Crewe. You have to think that side is now capable and managed by the right person to take them forward. However, they're away and they're against a team that is equally as well trained at home, tactically brilliant at home, I think, to Charlton, and that crowd really does give them an extra man. I'm actually going to go with Charlton 1, Blackpool 1. Now you can see for definite why I changed the Lincoln score. Huddersfield, Northampton, and Huddersfield have been a little bit up and down, haven't they? I really thought they'd be more consistent, and they just haven't been consistent. A Carabao Cup loss against Walsall, a loss in the league against Rotherham. Wow. And a loss against Doncaster in the Bristol Street. Okay, it's only the Bristol Street. But a 4-0 win against Bolton last time out, just to prove that they can bounce here, there and everywhere. And you have to think that they certainly at home they would have that edge, wouldn't they? A Northampton side that actually last week Northampton I think played extremely well, and they played well. Even when they went 1-0 behind, they were still actually the top team at that point in the game, and then they scored and equalised, and they were still the top team. And then about 10 minutes afterwards, it just became let's defend and try and stop Wickham from getting a winner. I think they played well. The tactics might have been a little bit wrong, but they can play good football. But I think they're against a Huddersfield side that are really needing and having to bounce back now, because that's 3 defeats and 1 win in the last 4. Although one of those was Carabao Cup and one was Bristol Street. It still hurts when you lose games. But I'm going to go with Huddersfield 3, Northampton 0. Mansfield, Shrewsbury next, and Shrewsbury, they played. It's Mansfield in 8th against Shrewsbury in 23rd. But you wouldn't believe it from last week. Shrewsbury played by far the best football, and I think they were if you played that game, Mansfield, the Shrewsbury game, again and again and again several times, you wouldn't never get that same. That 1-0 defeat to Charlton. They were actually better. They actually were the better side. I thought they played really, really well. I was really impressed by them, and for that reason, even though you look at this, the last 6 games, the only one they've won was Leyton Orient. Well, on Orient now in the 22nd. You're thinking, wow. It's a difficult one, because you've got 8th place Mansfield, 23rd place Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury I have been watching and I've been thinking they're playing actually rather well. They played well in the 3-0 defeat away to Wrexham. And you're thinking they're just playing the wrong bloody teams at the wrong time. Wrexham and then Charlton and now Huddersfield. What a 3-gamer. I went through, I did a video on different teams and their fixture lists for the whole year, and I remember saying that this section is so difficult for Shrewsbury. They have to hit it really well, and they've hit it playing really well, just not getting the right results. Against a Mansfield side that's my team to watch, but they've been very up and down. Their only win in the last 6 games was 2-1 in League One at home to Cambridge, and they've sort of died down a little here. And there are people here saying 2-0, 2-2, 3-1. There are even people saying 1-2. I can't split them. Again, I cannot split them because I think Shrewsbury have got something in this game, and I think they can take advantage of Mansfield's poor run of play. And I think, yes, Mansfield will start. It usually goes in about 6 games periods where you play badly and then sort of pick up again. And Mansfield are about to pick up. I do believe Mansfield will start to pick up over the next couple of games. Perhaps starting with this one, they could win this one. If anybody wins it, I think it will be Mansfield, but I don't think they will. I think it's going to be Mansfield 2, Shrewsbury 2. Peterborough versus Bristol Rovers next, and I think Peterborough, they've been quite consistent, and they've had 1 or 2 blips, but, you know, a 2-0 loss to Wrexham at home is no bad thing after the money they've spent. And I think that overall, their results show a really good, consistently solid side. And unfortunately, I think Bristol Rovers just don't show any solidity, and that holding back and just hoping not to let one in that Taylor does, I think, won't work against Peterborough. I'm going to go for Peterborough 4, Bristol Rovers 0. Rotherham versus Birmingham next. My side are playing absolutely awful. I've seen 2-0 to Birmingham, 2-1 to Birmingham. I actually had, and it was the Blue Monday podcast that come up with Rotherham 2, Birmingham 1. One of the only times I've seen a win. 2-1 to Birmingham. On Rotherham's New York Talk podcast the other day, there were lots of 4-0, 5-0s to Birmingham. And there were 1 or 2 people thinking we might be able to sneak a 1-0 or a 2-1 win. Personally, I can't see it. Not playing very well. I'm going to have to go with Rotherham 0, Birmingham 4. Stockport versus Orient next, and there's 2-1s, 3-1s, 2-0s, 1-0s, but nobody's choosing Leyton Orient. But Leyton Orient, I think, are a little bit misunderstood, because if you actually look at Leyton Orient's who they played, Birmingham, Millwall, okay, they lost against Shrewsbury 3-0 away. That's not such a good result. Arsenal, under 21s, yeah, okay, but they did score 2-1 defeat. Reading, they won 1-0 recently away, and then 3-1 in the Carabao Cup defeat to Brentford. So look at who they've played, and you have to feel for them. That run of games close together because of the cup games and who they were playing in those cup games, it's really hard to see them getting much out of it. They are in 22nd position. Stockport are in 5th, but Stockport have started just to show a few little gaps in there. The Crawley 1-1, that was not seen. A lot of people saying it was going to be a trounce for Stockport, and it wasn't. And it certainly wasn't easy. Mansfield 1-1, people were thinking that they should easily do. They did this last year, and it was a League Two game. They should be able to beat Mansfield. I do think that they will win. I think Stockport will have the edge because they're at home, and I think that they are playing well enough and just consistent enough to be able to beat an Orient side that are just a little bit disheartened. They have to pick themselves up, and it's going to be very difficult after losing 3-1 in the Carabao Cup midweek. That's come at the wrong time because they won against Reading. Although you play that 100 times, they'll never get that result again because Reading were the better team. So because of that, I'm going to go for Stockport 3, Orient 1. I'll go from Leyton Orient now to the Wrexham Crawley game, and Wrexham in first place on goal difference against 13th place Crawley, and obviously Wrexham take no no describing, do they? They've just been ruthless all the way through, and they were outplayed by Birmingham. I think a lot of people are saying it was quite even, but I think Birmingham managed to play quite solid championship football, and it just wasn't something that Wrexham were really thinking about. So we've got first place Wrexham against Crawley. Crawley really doing quite badly. They've not had a win since the Cambridge game on August 17th, and that was only 1-0. I can't see Crawley doing very well here. They've also not scored in those 3 defeats. They didn't score. They scored 1 against Stockport. I'm pondering whether they're going to actually score. There are some people saying they'll score 1 or 2, 3-1, 3-2, 2-1, 3-0, 3-0. Yeah. I'm actually going to go with Wrexham 3. I'm going to make Crawley 1. I think they might just shock people by being able to get that 1 goal on a sudden run right at the end, and we're going to give them a goal. Then the last game of the weekend is Wycombe versus Cambridge, and again I think Wycombe were just after the equaliser from Northampton, they actually ran that game, and they ran it really, really well. And up to then, it's just been a pretty solid performance, and I think Wycombe are now showing that they can score. They can, 5-3 win against Brighton and Hove Albion under 21s in Bristol Street is not a mean feat, because they have actually developed quite a good under 21 side, Brighton. So a lot of people here, 3-3, 3-0, 3-1, 4-2 from the Blue Monday. Yeah, 4-2 from that one. And I'm thinking, you see, there's a few that are thinking, Cambridge were really unlucky against Charlton. Cambridge were actually, I think, the better side, which is really weird, because I've been saying Charlton are actually quite ruthless, but Cambridge at home against Charlton, and Charlton really didn't ever, to me, get off the ground, because Cambridge didn't let them. And I can see them score. I can see Cambridge scoring. I really can. The number of goals in their past 6 games, and you think, yeah, they're capable of scoring. And for that reason, because you're following all these people saying 3-3 and 3-0 and 3-2 and 4-2, Wycombe in 10th, Cambridge in 24th. I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to say a Wycombe win. But it could be a draw, this, I think. It could certainly be a draw. I can see the person saying 3-3 getting it spot on. I'm going to go with Wycombe 3, Cambridge 2. That's the predictions for week 7 of League 1, and I hope you enjoyed them. Please like and subscribe, share it as much as you like, and it's Jon S Sports Channel. Over and out for week 7.